This way we can share it with our clubs if we have to.
Yeah, I sure will.
Thanks.
All right, I'm here.
Okay.
At 7 o'clock, we'll do the introduction, and then I'll give you a few other things, but see what time it is now. Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and do the introduction. I'm Randy Cooper. I am the District Club Retention Chair. And one of the things we think we need to do is, adapting to change is a challenge. In Pathways, I think that's one of the things. It's a whole different program than the legacy programs. And I just think for just being different is the reason why people are having trouble adjusting. So having people get familiar with how you can leverage Pathways, I think will help motivate them to get into Pathways. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this, to help clubs, and especially struggling clubs are the ones having trouble with this. But before I go any further, I want to introduce our speaker, Krystal Lockett Wilson. She is a passionate nurse, practitioner, community advocate, entrepreneur, public speaker, and dancer. Krystal credits Toastmasters for helping her succeed in both business and personal endeavors. She is a member of 3 Toastmasters clubs and is now one of 2 club coaches for Downtown Toastmasters in Mobile, Alabama. Today, she will explain to us her approaches to leveraging Pathways to help achieve your club coach goals. Fellow Toastmasters, let's welcome Krystal Lockett Wilson. Oh, before we do that, also, if you're going to say anything, please go in the chat. We'll save our questions for later. Let's let her do her presentation unless it's something really important, Chris, but we want her to speak as much as we can. And when she's done, we can ask questions and feel free to participate.
Thank you, Randy. So I'm glad he gave you that introduction of myself, because it's so important that we understand our why. Why did we join Toastmasters? Why do we want to be a coach? A lot of us want to be a coach because we want to have that distinguished Toastmaster role. But the other aspect of it is we want to be able to take something difficult and challenging and to be able to see it come into life, to see us succeed. And we're going to transfer those skills over into our personal endeavors. That's whether you're trying to meet a quota or you're trying to encourage a patient to achieve their blood pressure goal or their weight goal, whatever it is. These little skills that we are learning, not little skills, but these skills that we are learning as coaches and as Toastmasters members will help us transfer it over to our personal endeavors. So with that, I'm going to go straight into my presentation, leveraging pathways. So my objectives are to summarize pathways, review the Distinguished Club Program's educational goals, discuss 6 essential questions that you as a coach should be able to answer, demonstrate how to enroll in pathways, in a path, and review completing projects and levels. And lastly, we are going to discuss the importance of the VPE role in helping you achieve these goals. So everyone is familiar with Pathways being the new educational program that Toastmasters is using for our members. There are 11 paths, and these paths have so many different resources in them for whatever you want to do in life. Randy mentioned that I'm a nurse, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a community advocate. And I'm a coach. So I have chosen paths specifically related to how I can be better in those roles. So as a coach, I chose effective coaching specifically to go toward my downtown Toastmasters club that I'm coaching. I have motivational strategies that I chose because I am a nurse and I want to motivate others and motivate members of my club. And I also chose strategic relationships because I'm a community advocate. You don't have to do 3 different paths at the same time, but I'm just saying how I made these goals or this path individualized for me. And that's what you can do for yourself as well as for your members. Be able to emphasize this is going to help you not just achieve a Toastmasters goal, but it will help you achieve whatever you're doing outside of Toastmasters as well. So these are the 11 paths that you're able to choose from in Toastmasters. And that leadership and communication component that you used to have in the Legends program is incorporated in the paths as well. And if you could mute yourself, that would be great. Please mute yourself. Now, here are the Distinguished Club Program goals, and we want to specifically talk about the educational goals. We have 4 level 1 awards that you need to achieve by the end of the year, 2 level 2 awards, 2 more level 2 awards achieved, 2 level 3s, 1 level 4, level 5 or DTM award, and 1 more level 4, level 5 or DTM award achieved. And give me just a second while I try to figure out how to mute everybody. Hold on just a second. If you would, if you would, please mute yourself if you're not already. Everyone, please. Okay, thank you. So we want to help our clubs meet these educational goals. And the way we can do that is starting with 1. Who is that 1? That 1 is you. You being hopefully a member of the club, and you already have enrolled in pathways or will enroll in pathways. By doing that, you can lead by example in encouraging your club members to start achieving these educational goals. So let's move forward and ask the 6 essential questions. Do you know how many members are in your club right now? The club that you're coaching, not your home club, the club that you're coaching. How many members do you have? Are you an active member? Yes, you are the coach, but have you joined now? Since you have been approved to be the coach, you can join the club and add to that quota that you need to make a healthy club. Which members are enrolled in pathways? Yes, you have some members that are still doing the manuals, just doing them because they want to, but we need all of the members enrolled in pathways to be successful in meeting your club coach goals. And who is serving as VPE? Very important question. We'll talk about that even more at the end of the presentation. Now, what is the current status of the educational goals? Let's say you have everybody in your club enrolled in pathways. Has everyone done their icebreakers? Who has completed a level? Is anyone approaching level 5? If you don't know the answers or don't have anyone that can answer that question for you, we would have to work on that as well. And we'll talk about who that person would be, the main person would be to answer that question. And are you enrolled in a path? And I should have changed this question to, are you enrolled in a path specifically for your club? I know some of you may already be enrolled in a path and have some of your levels going to this club, some of your levels going to another club. No. In my opinion, because this is how I'm leveraging pathways to help my club, I have a path specifically to go to downtown Toastmasters. So are you enrolled in a path, and is that path specifically for the club that you're coaching? So these are 6 essential questions that hopefully you can answer, but if you can't now, we will work on that, encourage you to find the answers, and I'll actually help you find the answers to that question at the end of this presentation. So let's start with how to enroll in pathways. I know that there are some of the coaches on the line that have not enrolled in pathways yet. Some of you may already have this information down pat, but I wanted to take the time to go over this quickly so that you can know how to access it and you can know how to explain it to your members that have not enrolled in pathways. So let's review it. We're going to log in. We're going to go to the pathways tab. We're going to go to the start section, and I'm going to show you all of this in a screenshot. We're going to continue to our preferences and select the digital or the print. Select our path and show you where it demonstrates where you can pay. So we will go into that in just a moment. So pathways enrollment step by step. You go to your Toastmasters International page. We're going to go and log in here. You help your members with their email address, and that hopefully they'll know that password. If they don't, they can hit forgot password, but they would need their member ID and password and hit log in. They would go to the pathways section here, double click, and it gives you a drop down menu that you would select start page. And all of this is recorded, so no need to, I know I may be speaking fast, but you will have this recording as well. So it shows you this screen, and you go here to choose your path. Now, if you're a new member, you get your path for free, but if you want to add additional paths, you have to pay the $20. So you continue to path selection. It says, how would you like to access your materials? I go straight to digital resources. And I have to tell you, when I first enrolled in the path, I didn't know that I needed to double click here. You have to have this little blue section to move forward. I was having a hard time initially. So make sure you double click on the select digital resources. Now, I do not know much about the printed materials. I did practice this presentation because I wanted to get credit for my path. And I was told that the printed materials does not come in all of the 11 pathways. So that's something to consider if you want to be more traditional and have it hands-on. I would prefer to select the digital resources and use the computer, but you can at least let your members know that they have that option. So we're going to focus more so on the digital resources. You double click, select digital, and it brings you down to how would you select to select your path. If you want to read all 11 paths, their descriptions, and go straight into it, you can select View Path Options. However, if you want to take an online assessment that will assess the answers to the questions that they have, and it'll pick about 3, I believe it's about 3 paths that would be individualized specifically based on your responses, then you can take the online assessment. But like I said, you have 2 options. You can go straight into reviewing all 11 or answer their questions and figure out which one they want to suggest for you. So I'm going to select View Path Options, and I hit Continue. Now the first part here is, the first part shows 6 paths, and the rest of them are listed on the side here. Now, if you can tell, I'm not sure if you can on your screen, but these over here are graded out. Graded out. If you can tell, these are more bolded, but all of these are graded out. If anyone's on the line, can anyone explain why they're graded out or know why they're graded out on this side of the screen? Anybody know?
Hey, Krystal, this is Kevin.
Uh-huh.
This is Kevin. I think I can answer that question.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's because those are additional paths that you have chosen.
Yes. Yes. So all of the paths that you enroll in and have not finished, you want to add another one, you can, but the ones that you enrolled in will show up at the bottom of the screen. So all 4 of these paths I have enrolled in. I'm not working in all 4 of them. I'm working in 3, but these are all the 4 that I have paid for, enrolled in, and they're no longer available for me to select. You see these say select, 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 select. Select. So once you enroll in a path, you will not be able to re-enroll at that time. So for the purpose of this demonstration, thank you, Kevin, I would like to select visionary communication as the path I want to enroll in at that time. Once again, you have to double click in order for that continue to show up and you move forward on the screen. So you would double click on select visionary communication if that's what you choose, continue, and it will take you to the payment screen. You basically follow all the steps that they have outlined, pay for your path, and you have officially been enrolled, would be enrolled in Pathways. So that was like a crash course to enrolling in Pathways. I'm actually going to stop for a minute and do things a little bit different than our other presentations to see if there's any questions. Are there any questions right now regarding enrolling in a path. And I do want to emphasize the question and answers section. We're going to incorporate that in this presentation. I don't want to wait to just the end because it's so much. If I do that, which I've already practiced and saw that this is what happens, the material is rushed through. So I don't want to do that. I want to take my time. And if you have a question pertaining to specifically what I just went through, please go ahead and ask the question. That way I can go back and show you real quick. So anyway, that is it for enrolling in a path. We are going to now complete projects and levels in our path. I'm going to show you how to do that. So starting once again from the beginning, you log into Toastmasters International. You've already enrolled in your path. This is your first step. You want to go to Pathways, double click, and then select Go to Basecamp. Okay. Now, if you're a member of different clubs, you select which club you want to view your path. If I'm selecting the path that I chose specifically for the Downtown Club, I'm going to select Downtown Club and go to Basecamp. But you can look at any of the paths through any of the clubs that you are enrolled in, so that's not an issue. We'll actually discuss that more as well. So Basecamp is where all of your resources are available to you, can be visibly seen or accessed in Toastmasters International. So you have your paths, you can access them here at Paths and Learning, your educational transcript, or you can access your paths down here below at this section. But I learned that only 3 of them will show up in this section, so I usually go up here. That's just easier for me. You can also find your speech evaluations. All the speech evaluations are found under Basecamp as well. There's also a section here that says My Documents. Usually, if we were meeting in person, you'll bring your evaluation, someone will complete it, and they'll give it to you right at that time, and you'll have it to store. With this new virtual component, you usually have to email your evaluation and get it back. You can store it in this section here, but I would prefer to just store it in Google Drive or something like that, because your VP of Education can't see this section here. This is only for you. So if you don't normally get on to Toastmasters International that much, you want to just store it with Google Drive or Dropbox, you can do that instead. But this section is available to you. So we are going to access the path that we have enrolled in under Paths and Learning for now. So you double click, and it shows you all of the paths that you're currently enrolled. For this presentation, we are going to select my presentation mastery path and open the curriculum. Here is where all of the levels are listed, and you want to first start at level 1, but you can go out of order. However, the paths are supposed to increase in difficulties and challenges. So you want to, it may be easier to just go straight in order, level 1, level 2, and level 3. I can tell you that personally, I have gone out of order depending on what has happened in my life. If I gave an inspirational message to some children, I know that that's one of my electives in my path. So I'm going to choose that and make sure I get credit for it for my club. But for the purpose of this presentation and for beginners, you want to tell them to try to start with their level 1, especially their icebreaker. So for this, if you were starting with your icebreaker, you would see activate listed. Activate. Unfortunately, I've already clicked on it for all of my paths, so I don't have icebreaker listed here, but it would say activate. Right now, we're going to try to complete our researching and presenting project. So in order to start completing a project, you want to activate it. So I activate it there. Now we're going to launch the project, just an extra step that Toastmasters has us do to show that we're serious about doing this. So you're going to hit launch, and it takes you to the project that you're going to be working on. You have 2 options to advance through the project. You can hit the button here, begin, or you can go to the drop down section, which brings you to this box that has all of the different areas that you're going to navigate through. So we're going to double click on begin right here and here. So when you select begin, it takes you to the navigation screen that goes over what all these buttons mean. It's pretty self-explanatory here. If you want to go backwards, you'll hit this chevron, advance to the next page, this one. And then these buttons here, you definitely want to, before you go advance to the next page, you want to check this out and see what the information that they have listed on these little dials at the bottom here. Once again, this drop-down menu allows you to basically select where you want to go specifically, not advance in order of the project. So I have this start and I have this start as a way that you can advance to the next section. So we're going to go forward. Now I'm going to use the drop-down menu to actually get to a PDF of this document. It says your evaluation here. If you go to your evaluation at the end of the project, you can find the evaluation form, you can find the PDF of the project, and you can find some other resources. So instead of advancing all throughout this researching and presenting project, we're going to go and jump to your evaluation section so you can see what I'm referring to. Okay, so as I stated, when you jump straight to your evaluation, you can hit print my project. That way, if you are not computer savvy, if you do not want to read all that material, all that educational material that's trying to inform you on how to do a research and presenting project, if you don't want to read through that on the computer, you can jump straight to your evaluation. It'll take you here and you'll double click on it and it will give you a PDF of the entire project, a PDF that you can read just like you used to do with the manuals in the Legends program. So I'm showing you here, this is the PDF of the Researching and Presenting Project, 28 pages. And that PDF is available for each of the projects that you do. So I'm going to go back. Once again, this came from me hitting print my project and I double clicked on it and it gave me another window which provided a PDF, 28-page PDF of this project. And I'm going to go back so you can see this other section here. Evaluation resources, that's where you can click on it to get this specific evaluation for your project. And then they also give you some tools to help you complete the project as well. So once you have made it to this page and you have evaluated before, it's time to finish it and gave your speech, it is time to finish this project. So before and after you do any project in Toastmasters International, it's so important that you assess your skills. Right here, this is where that little dial at the end or at the bottom counts. You want to be able to go through and answer all of the questions before and after to do the evaluation. If you have done the evaluation successfully, you will get this next page here, this next screen that shows feedback. You have successfully submitted your responses. You will have your before answers and you'll have your after answers. When you see that, that means you are on your way to getting credit because this is going to matter in just a few minutes regarding this assessment section. Okay. So you have opened your project, you activated, you launched it, you went through the material, you gave your speech, organized it with your VP of Education, gave your speech, assessed it afterwards, completed your final steps and reviewed your before and after assessment and got this screen. Congratulations, you have completed this project. Now, before you do anything else, you have to make sure you go up at the top, whether you're using Chrome or Internet Explorer, and exit out this page. Why? Because if you don't, it is going to give you it's 0%. It's not going to trigger to Toastmasters International that you've completed the project. So it's important that you exit out this page. And we'll go through that in real time because I have my Toastmasters International website pulled up so you can better understand that. So you exit out this page and it turned what was 0% for presentation and mastery to now 5% because I have completed one project from this entire pathway, and that project was researching and presenting. Researching and presenting. We hit the activate button, we launched it, we went through all of that material, we assessed our knowledge beforehand, we assessed it afterwards, and then we had that congratulations screen, exited out, and got our 5% feedback that we have presented this project. And I went through that just to say, you know, that's the same for every single project, all those little steps. And you know that you did it well if you had this evaluate button show up. If you went through that and did not see this evaluate button nor see this percentage change, it's because you did not exit out nor did that assessment section. So please do that. That way you won't be confused or frustrated when you don't see this changing that your curriculum has progressed. So with that, I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions thus far. Any questions? Because I see the chat, but I'm in the middle of the lecture or presentation, so I'm not really following the chat. So if you have any questions, go ahead. Feel free. Let me hear it.
Hey, Krystal, I don't have any questions, but if people don't feel comfortable in interrupting you, I mean, they can send a question to me and I can share them with you later. At the
Okay.
end.
Okay. That sounds good. So once again, just to reassure you, I know in the past we've done the presentation for 30 minutes and then the Q&A for 30 minutes. I am incorporating the questions in this because I know that there's a lot to cover and I don't want to go too fast, especially if there's a specific detail that's a little confusing. So if you have a question regarding the topic after I've discussed it, please feel free. So I'm going to go forward or message Kevin. So I'm going to go forward with our next thing, and that is completing levels in our paths. So I'm going to go to my motivational strategies pathway because I've completed more projects there, and you can see how to complete a level better that way. So we're going to, once again, we're at Basecamp. You can access your path either here under Paths and Learning, or you can go at the bottom here of Paths and Learning. I'm going to double click Open Curriculum, and it takes me to my motivational strategies pathway. As you can see, big difference from when I had my presentation mastery pathway. I've completed 39% of this path, and actually I want to say there's one more project I need to push through, but 39% of this path. I did my icebreaker already. I did my evaluation and feedback, and I did my researching and presenting. Whether you are doing motivational strategies pathway, presentation mastery, it doesn't matter. All of the steps are the same for the projects. That is, you activate, you launch, it pulls up the screen, you would navigate through it, assess your skills, complete your speech, assess your skills again, get your congratulations screens, exit out, evaluate, check mark. You do that again for evaluation and feedback project. Now I do want to, before we go off with this project, this has 3 steps. This project is not just I give a speech and I'm done. That's what Icebreakers is. You give a speech, you get it evaluated, you're done with the project. For evaluation and feedback, there are actually 3 steps to complete in this project. You give your speech, your evaluator evaluates you. You're supposed to incorporate the feedback in that speech, give it again, have it evaluated, and then you actually evaluate someone else, which was the same in the CC book too. We had that project evaluation and feedback, but you cannot hit complete and evaluate this until all 3 of those things are done. When all of 3 of them are done, you can do your final assessment, see that congratulations screen that I showed you earlier, exit out, and then get your check mark. So that's why it's important for your VPE to be keeping up with when each part of the project was done. Sometimes I have people that will submit that they've completed the project, but they haven't done all 3 of those steps. So important to do. Researching and presenting, we just went over how to complete that project. So once you completed all 3 of the projects in a level, you can have your level 1 completion submitted to your VPE. Your VPE will get notification of that. And I'm gonna try not to go too much into that because I am VPE and I don't want to give you too much details on that yet. But as far as you completing your level for your pathway and telling your members or fellow Toastmaster how to do it, they need to complete all the projects first, and then they'll be able to submit level completion. If you want to see your certificate and feel good about yourself, put it up, put it somewhere and showing your achievement, you can see view certificate after the project has been submitted. So that is level 1 completion. I'm going to show you how my certificate looks for that. Once again, that's found at that button that's at the end of the level. Let's go on to level 2. So level 1s are pretty much all the same for every single path. Level 2, things get a little different depending on which path you chose. Same thing, this would say activate when you first see it, when you're first starting on the path. You have activate, you'll launch, you'll see that open screen for each of these different projects. You would assess your skills, you'll go through the project directly by navigating, or you can jump to the end and hit your evaluation to get the PDF of it so you won't have to look through the computer screen. You'll give your speech, have it evaluated, assess it at the end, exit out, and you have that check mark. Make sure you evaluate before you go on to the next project. You'll have the evaluation button. After you've evaluated the project, you will see launch again. So that's why you don't see evaluate here anymore. I've already evaluated it and it goes back to the default, which is launch. Active listening, the same thing, same steps. Introduction to Toastmasters mentoring, the same steps. Activate, launch, go through the project on the computer or jump to the PDF. And then once you have completed all of these, you have verified it with your VPE, given her a copy or your evaluation would probably be the best thing in case your VPE doesn't have an Excel spreadsheet or is swamped for whatever reason. If you have your copy of your evaluation, that will help he or she be able to verify that you indeed did the project. So once you have completed the projects, you are able to submit level completion and you'll be able to view certificate as before. And I didn't pull up the certificate for level 2. I'm going to go back and just say, you just hit view certificate and you'll be able to see it. So going on to our level 3s. Level 3s gets it's a little bit different. That's all I'm going to say. I'm trying to say as positive as possible. In order to see the electives for level 3, you have to click on either the name elective projects or view details to get more information about the electives. They're always a required project, and then the electives are listed below. So for this purposes, I'm going to go ahead and click elective projects. And by doing so, it takes me to all of the projects available for my level 3 motivational strategies pathway. Like I said, your level 3, if you're enrolled in a different path, your requirement will be different than mine, but the electives are available to you, will be listed available to you as well, and those differ depending on which path. So you would select whichever elective that you want to choose. Minimum required is 2. As you can see, I haven't completed my level 3 yet. So all of these are pretty much listed as activate, activate, activate. When I get ready to complete it, I will hit the button, go through it like I told you already, with all of those steps being the same. Activate, launch, go through it, complete your assessment, and you'll be able to exit out and I'll see my check mark here. I'll have to do that for 2 different projects. Once I do that, I'll be able to submit my level 3 completion. I'll be able to submit my level 3 completion to my VP of Education and I'll get a check mark. You won't get the check mark until all of the projects are done and it's been submitted and approved. I'm going to go next to our level 4 I see I have my motivate others. I've already activated because I'm working on this particular project, but I haven't completed nor given my speech. So I have to still complete that process. And then I will select my elective projects to go forward in completing this level. View details or double click on elective projects to get you to that section. And it has 8 electives that I'm able to choose from. Only have to do one. Once again, I haven't made it this far yet, so I have to activate when I get ready and go forward and finish the project as I stated before, same steps. So once I've completed the minimum requirement and the elective, I can submit for approval to the VPE. And lastly, for this particular pathway, team building is my required project. I would complete that and then go forward to my electives. But if for some reason I was invited to do something special that pertained to some of the electives listed here, I can go ahead and do my elective first and then go back and do the team building project. It really doesn't matter. It's just whatever works and making sure that you have it scheduled, have a goal set to get this done in the time that you want for your club to get approval. So I would complete my team building project, do my electives, whichever one I chose, submit it to the VP of Education, and finally have all of the levels done for path completion. Now here's the thing. I had a member submit her request. She wanted to get her level 5 approved, but then she hadn't given her reflect on your path. I was in between, let me see how to say this. There was some confusion because on a previous Excel or previous training, the reflector path had to be done prior to the path being approved for completion. I would rather them go ahead and do the reflector path before you complete the entire level 5. Some people do their reflector path after they've received approval from the VP of Education. I would highly suggest that you have, after they've done level 5, go ahead and do the reflector path, and that way everything will be done so that you can get the finalized credit that everything in this path is approved and can get credit for your club. So I know that may be a confusing, that's that VP role coming into play that I'm trying not to incorporate in this presentation. But the main thing that you need to know is all of the steps are the same regarding completing the projects. And you can go out of order. You just want to make sure that you are closing the projects out so that you can see this progress here and that you're submitting the level completions to your VP of Education. But as far as the main steps or the main material that you need to apply to the club, this is pretty much it. I mean, this is pretty much it. You activate, you launch, you complete it, and make sure that your VP is watching when someone has submitted approval for level completion. So with that, I'm going to stop for a second before I go into who is serving in the VPE role and see if there's questions, because there has to be questions from all of that material that I just discussed. Any questions?
Hey, Krystal, this is Kevin. I do have 2 questions that came in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first one was, can the vice education, can they go online for the speaker and do that? And I guess the use case there is if having your traditional club meetings and you just felt uncomfortable logging in, can your VP just do it all for you, or do you have to participate and do that yourself?
You mean completing all those projects and going through it and completing what I just showed you?
Yes.
No, you need to do that yourself. That's the VPE is supposed to be approving your project on their end. They can't log into, unless you're going to give her the login information or him the login information. As you saw in the beginning of my presentation, I had to use my specific username and password in order to get to my Basecamp. I don't have access to any of my members' Basecamp logins. So it's important that you as an individual log in and complete that section that I just showed you. The VPE can help you enroll in a path, that's for sure. The VPE can enroll in a path on behalf of a member, but actually going through and completing the project step by step, like I just showed you, that needs to be done for the members. Unless you want to get, once again, unless you want to give the VPE your login, and that's kind of, that would be up to him or her. She would have to do that for everybody at that point, and that's a lot.
Well, thank you, Krystal. The last question I had that came through the chat was you showed the screen under the project and levels, and
Yes.
there was a launch button. And so is there, do you have to, does it, after you click that, does it just go automatically? Or do you have to click and follow the prompts each time after the launch button?
So when you activate and then you hit the launch button, it'll come up a whole new window for your project. And you will be able to navigate with the chevrons below. But yes, it'll launch the entire project for you once you hit that button. Did that answer the question, or maybe you should ask me again and make sure I understood you?
So Krystal, I have a question. I asked the question about the launch button. So when you go through and you activate it and you come back here and it says launch, it shows the launch button, you actually have to hit the launch button to activate your project, correct?
Yes. Yep. It's 2 steps. It's activate and then it's launch, and then it'll show up. So both of them at the same time.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
I guess I have a brief question. Do I need to? Yeah. First of all, to restate something that is very unordinary is the evaluation of the evaluation that is required for level 1. Is it possible to somehow get that as a regular space on an agenda, perhaps under evaluation 1 in free Toast Host, so that it's not really something that we have to go out of our way to do, but just something that comes up as an option at every club meeting? Because with 4 level 1s required to get there, it's going to take a pretty regular preponderance of these evaluators of evaluators.
Yeah. For that project, what I do is actually add that as another evaluator on the agenda. So not all of our members are working on that particular project, so there hasn't been an issue as far as time during our meetings to get that done. But if I have a member that is working on that project, evaluation and feedback, and it's time for them to give an evaluation and then be evaluated, I will have an actual section on the agenda for evaluator of blah, blah, blah for, evaluation feedback project.
You just use a regular evaluator space. You don't have a special interesting.
Yep. I used gave them a whole 3 minutes and put that a part of our agenda. So if we had 3 speakers, let me explain. So if we had 3 speakers, then of course we would have 3 evaluators for that speakers. But then I would have a 4th evaluator to evaluate speaker 3, because they're working on that evaluation and feedback project. So I don't know if that confused anybody, but that means we need to have that role in there so that they can actually complete that project and get the credit. It's just part of the requirement.
One way, well, obviously Iron City hasn't tried that yet, but one thing UAB has done is we've just included it as a footnote down at the bottom, because it usually, I thought it was pretty reflexive and goes back and says which speech you're evaluating in the original, but it may not. It may be possible to do it like that, but we only have space for 3 evaluators, I think. So it would definitely take an edit to add a 4th evaluator.
Yeah, we take time off of the table topics in order to get that done. But remember, we do speech contests. So if you want to one day do a speech contest or evaluation contest, that by adding that part of the agenda, that gives people an opportunity to learn some more in case they want to compete in that particular
that is
project
true.
or title.
Krystal,
Uh-huh.
how does an agenda look that has this additional evaluation? Do you have one you could show us, or could you email it to us?
I can email it to you because I would have to pull it up, but we just did that recently. I want to say last month on, yeah,
Thank you.
recently. So I'll pull it up and find it for you.
Thank you.
No problem. So we'll pause on the questions. I'll answer some more questions in just a second. I'm almost done with the presentation, so not too much longer, and we'll have time for more questions. So here is my final point. Who is serving in the VPE role? If you are the club coach, you definitely want to know who that is, because the VPE will be the person who is approving all of those levels that I just showed you how to complete. Now, once they approve it, there has to be another step. There's 2 steps actually for the VPE that the VPE will have to do in order for your club to actually get credit. Try not to go into it, but they approve it on Basecamp Manager, and then they would also need to approve it at Leadership Central. If you are a VPE and are unfamiliar with that, please message me before we end so we can make sure you're familiar with it. If you're a VPE in a role, a VP in the coaching role, you definitely want to know what Basecamp Manager is and Leadership Central, because if it is not any of these projects, even any of these levels are not completed on Leadership Central, none of the educational goals will be recognized as achieved on Toastmasters International, which would mean the Distinguished Club Program status is unattainable because there's no way that they know that you're doing it. So you need a VPE that is familiar with what Basecamp Manager is, how to work it, and how to approve awards and Leadership Central. If there's no VPE, then the secretary or the president are supposed to be the ones that are making sure that all of the projects, all of the levels are getting done for your club. So I just want to emphasize that, and this came straight from Toastmasters International. So to summarize, I went over the 11 paths pretty quickly, but you'll be able to go into them in detail and review them and see which one works specifically for you and for the club that you're coaching. I reviewed the educational goals that you are trying to obtain for your club in order for them to achieve Distinguished Club status. And I hope that you're able to answer the 6 essential questions. I know that I've answered them, but can you answer those 6 essential questions regarding your club? And I explained how to complete a project and a level in a path. I haven't completed a path yet because I haven't completed all of my levels, but they're pretty much the same, the steps. You complete the projects, then you complete the levels, and once you have all of those done, you will have your path completed. And lastly, I reviewed the importance of the VPE role in making sure that these projects are getting approved and that the educational goals are being reported to Toastmasters International. So with that, I'm going to stop and see if you want me to show you anything in real time on Toastmasters International, I can go to the website right now or answer any additional questions. Go ahead if you have any.
Hey, Krystal, this is Kevin. I would like to add something. You made a comment about the printed material, and I just wanted to add that the printed material is $25, and there's 5 paths that are available, and that's presentation mastery, leadership development, strategic relationships, dynamic leadership, and team collaboration. If anybody was
Yes.
interested in that, yeah.
Yes. So like I said, the printed materials, I chose all digital, so I'm not familiar with those. But as he stated, if you want to pay for those, that's an extra $25, and you don't even get all of the paths that are available in the digital format. So that's something to consider when you're trying to see which one you want to do. And they have a compare digital versus print. See 5 when you have 11 here. So any other questions?
I want to make a comment about the printed also,
Mm-hmm.
that the electives are pre-chosen for you. You don't, my understanding is you do not, like if you do presentation mastery, the 2 electives are chosen for you. You don't get to choose the electives. Of course, you mentioned about skipping to the PDFs, and one of the disadvantages of skipping to the PDFs is you miss some of the videos, which I like a lot,
Yeah.
especially on evaluation and feedback. So
Mm-hmm.
I like going through the projects.
Yeah.
If you don't have the videos, the electives are pre-chosen for you. So since you really don't have electives, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
And so, and it comes in 3 installments, level 1, level 2, then level 3, then 4 and 5. But if someone's really hates the digital, they hate the computer, I will do it, but I want them to know the limitations of the printed. And if they're willing to deal with it, then they can move forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's fair that they know the limitations before they make the decision.
Mm-hmm. And those videos are really good. I'm glad you stated that because you don't want to miss them. But I emphasize, you know, jumping to that section, that your PDF, because I know there's so many people that are hesitant about using the computer to review all of the material. But like you said, you're missing out on some really good videos that are incorporated in your lessons. Any other questions? And I am recording this. Does anybody want to see in real time anything from Basecamp? Because this is Toastmasters International right now.
Hi, Krystal. This is Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
Could you show the Leadership Central
Yes.
where you have to go and do that second part that the VPE has to do?
Yes, ma'am. So here's Leadership Central. You'll click here. Club Central. I'm going to choose, because I'm VP for Eastern Shore here. Yeah. Okay, so let me go back because I kind of went kind of fast. Go to Leadership Central, then Club Central. Then you would select your club, which I already did. That's why it took me straight to Eastern Shore, and it's listed here. Submit Educational Awards. That's where you would go as VPE to approve the awards. This is the second step. You would go to Basecamp Manager first, and I'll do that too. And then you will come here. So if your member just submitted an award for level 1, you would approve it in Basecamp Manager. And then after you've finished it in Basecamp Manager, then you'll go to Leadership Central, do what I just did, and then select that same member's name, and it'll show up. Yeah, look at my cell phone. Since I've had multiple paths, it should show up. Oh, actually, I can't. My name won't show up because I can't approve my own awards because I'm VPE. So I'm just going to choose somebody just to show a Duke Karen. Actually, she's a DTM. Let's see. So I think she just finished path. So this is the one that John is currently working on. If he would have submitted his path, level completion on Basecamp Manager, I would have approved it. Then I would go to his name, select level 3, because hypothetically he just finished it, select it, and if he wanted a letter of recognition, I would hit yes. If not, we'll move forward. And then I'm not going to click it because I don't want to mess up anything. We'll go forward and follow the prompts, and that will be finished on his behalf. But going back to Basecamp Manager, it'll only say Basecamp Manager if you're VP or Secretary or President of that club. And for this one, Eastern Shore, I am. So it'll say log in as Basecamp Manager. This is where you'll go first to approve any level completions or path completions. Pending requests, we shouldn't have any because I should be up to date, which we don't. But if anyone has submitted anything, they will bring it here. It'll be pushed here, and I would approve once I verified it. As VP, I take that seriously. If I don't have it documented that they gave it, or I wasn't at the meeting, I'll say, hey, can you send me the evaluation that shows me that you completed that project? Once they do that, and then I can approve it here, and then go to Leadership Central to do the rest. Go ahead. Does that answer your question? I kind of went into Basecamp Manager too a little bit.
No, that's perfect. I remember there were 2 steps, and I'm not sure if everyone realized the 2 steps, and I just thought it would be a good thing to see. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Hey, yeah, Krystal, there was one question on chat, and you kind of answered it, but I just want to make sure I reiterate it. You know, do you have to have written proof for your evaluations, or just like being on the agenda, the weekly agenda, does that count as showing like proof?
I like the actual evaluation because I don't know about you. Sometimes meeting agendas aren't reconciled. So you'll have somebody that was scheduled to be the speaker and they didn't show up, or something have happened, or they switched and did it the next week. It just, I would rather have a copy of the evaluation. That also helps when there's 3 parts to a particular project, like it is with the evaluation and feedback. I also want to be able to document it on his little spreadsheet that I use, and that's for VPE role. That's for the VPE role specifically. Tracy, what's Tracy's last name? Sherman suggested VPE's role, use this here like an Excel spreadsheet, and that way they can put the dates beside all of the projects. Now you don't have to do this if you're VPE, but if I had the evaluation form, that will help me be able to put the dates for when that person completed their project. Does that make sense? So I wanted to help keep track of everything.
Yeah, I mean, that works for me. I would add that, maybe having a conversation with your direct VP would help as well too.
Yeah.
Yep. I did have another question. How do you help someone who's having trouble choosing the right path?
I would point them back to Toastmasters International and doing that assessment that I showed you here. Yeah, I would advise them to take the assessment and go from there. And then once they have their options available, see which one makes them more excited, encourages them, motivates them more to want to complete the projects. Most people choose the paths related to speaking and improving their public speaking skills. So if that's their goal, then choose the path that's more in line with that, a presentation mastery, a visionary communication. So you'd have to talk to them and see what their what their interests are.
Krystal, I have a question. And so, what if you do that, you're unsure, and you chose a path and that you really didn't like, you started going through maybe level and you didn't like it. Is there any way you can get out of that?
I did see that the paths are non-refundable, but this is what happened to me. I did choose a path that I didn't like, and I called Toastmasters International and they allowed me to change it. Now, I don't know how long I have between the time to make that decision, but it wasn't very long. It was like maybe 3 weeks, and I was like, I don't want to be in this path. Can I switch to something else? And I just called them and they fixed it for me. But I can't answer the question of how long they'll give you to make that change. I'm not sure. Anybody else know that?
Yeah, Toastmaster International is 90 days. You have 90 days.
90 days. Okay.
Oh, okay.
As long as you don't complete level 1. If you complete level 1 within 90 days, no luck.
Oh, and all level 1s are the same. So I was like,
Yeah.
Doesn't really do much for you.
yeah.
Maybe what they ought to do is do some kind of an exploratory project on each level instead of the researching and developing. That would basically be a preview of the rest of the level, but we're not there yet. Maybe one day they'll tweak pathways in a way that makes it a little bit more user-friendly.
Yeah.
But I did have a question or a comment or something, and I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. One thing I would say when it comes to selecting a path is this is where good mentorship is key. And you can even, if you take the route that involves the questionnaire, you can assign mentors that way, such as someone who takes the questionnaire and comes up with a certain path and chooses that path. You can assign a mentor based on whether somebody's further down the path than you. There's been a limited amount of success in that with the UAB club.
Yeah, and that's a good point, but most of our clubs most likely wouldn't have the membership to have enough members and mentors and mentees.
That's true.
So making it individualized, that's why, if you can point out the why, making it more than just becoming distinguished, making it about them progressing as whatever their profession is or whatever their goals are in the future, making it more individualized, I think would help them be motivated to complete a path and be excited to complete a path. This is going to help me in my entrepreneurship goals, so I think that would help because I know that does that for me as an individual. So, and the person that I mentor.
Krystal,
Uh-huh.
I just want to say that thank you for a very excellent presentation. I'm more of all my presentations have been essentially through the legacy program, so I've got to become more familiar with pathways, and this is an excellent aid in doing that, as well as in helping the club. And as I read through that, I'm sure I'll get more information to have more questions to ask or more questions to address as I go along. But again, thank you for a very excellent presentation. It's very well appreciated.
Thank you. Well, if y'all have any other questions, you can email me. I'll email you all with that agenda, that sample agenda, and I'll have my contact information. So if you think of anything else, you can email me directly and I will definitely help. So with that, I will hand it back over to Randy.
Okay. Right now we are looking at doing a panel discussion next month. I'm setting it for November 16th. What we're doing is we're looking at people to help us to know how to thrive in an online environment, because that's one of the biggest challenges in our district is some folks seem to have trouble adjusting to change. So I've got one volunteer. If there's a couple more people, if you're in a club that's doing well with an online environment, I'd like you to help participate in a panel discussion and also have some materials ready, because I think that's the biggest hurdle I'm seeing in getting the feedback on getting folks to learn how to adapt, not only adapt to online, but thrive in an online environment. There's some clubs that are doing that. Mm-hmm. But I want that to be the norm rather than the exception in our district. And I think that's the most critical part of our district, looking at the reports, is learning to adapt to online, learn how to thrive.
Is anybody else trying, is anybody else trying hybrid meetings that are both in person and online? I'm trying hybrid meetings outdoors that involve like a laptop and are also communicating over Zoom. Is anybody else trying that?
The Bienville Club was at a hybrid meeting last week.
Okay. Are y'all meeting indoors or outdoors?
Well, here's the thing. See, I do volunteer work at the World War II Museum, and they meet at 6:30 on Tuesdays. So I had to leave that meeting in order to come here. But I have to rush home to try to get to that meeting because they changed their meeting dates to the date that I volunteer for at the World War II Museum. So I'm having a little problem. But if you wanted to contact Bienville, they have done at least one hybrid meeting, and I thought quite successfully.
So far, we haven't had a whole lot of success with ours. We did manage to get one person interested 2 weeks ago, but this week was kind of a bust.
Yeah, I'm going to get Regions Evergreen because they're seeming to be doing very well with this whole thing. So that's one of the clubs I'm looking at. I was one look at VA Voices, but the person was real busy there. They're doing really well too with this whole thing. So we want to see we want to learn from the clubs that are doing well. And maybe at the TLI, if Monica's here, like to have something at the TLI on how to thrive in online meetings. Because I think that's critical. Great. Looking at our reports. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest need we have right now is learn how not just adjust to online meetings, but how to thrive in online meetings.
Right.
And not just wait till we meet in person again. I think that mindset's got to change because it's killing our clubs.
Oh, yeah.
it is killing a lot of our clubs. And a lot of clubs are now looking at survival. Distinguish is the last thing on a lot of clubs' mind now. It's just surviving at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah, I think I'm right there as far as this club coach position right now. It's like just getting through this pandemic period is going to be tough. Fortunately, it looks like International has given us a little bit of help with what they announced yesterday.
I have mixed feelings about that as well. Part of it, I see extending clubs, but also just going to be extra work for the districts. And sometimes it's